making sure that I give you guys an opportunity to link up with people who have actually used their passion to profit. They've actually found a way to take their passion and put it to work in the earth. Now, I'm going live right here on the campus. The reason why I'm here is because you guys know I did not celebrate. I'm blacked out. I'm blacked out. I did not celebrate 4th of July, and I probably won't moving forward until there's some major legislation that we pass in reference to a number of things. I want to see Colin go back to work. I actually want to see them do more than just give them some money and send them back on the field. I think they need to do some other things to get involved with reparations. I think that there's a whole bunch of other things that we can do with education, etc. So here I am on the campus of a university. And the reason why I'm here, I just want to show you, because they made a decision to dedicate some space to none other than, of course, you guys know, I posted this earlier today, Frederick Douglass, right? Frederick Douglass, and you can see this right here. Now, down on the ground is his words. There are countless words on the ground. Of course, this is not the best way to show this to you, but I will post some pictures afterwards just so you can know that, you know, they have made an investment in making sure that at the Robert Lee Hornbeck Library, the R. Lee Hornbeck Library, which is a huge law library. It's a law library. Actually, they have a multi-ethnic student education center here, and I've done some speaking here, and actually done some recruitment as well for the organization that I represent. But anyway, I wanted to be here with my man, Mr. Frederick Douglass, and so I'm working on my guests right now. They should be coming in any minute. They're not in the same time zone, so I'm waiting right now for them to come on through, and that should be happening soon. Okay, but I do have some really cool stuff to talk about. Over the week, you know, everybody's been talking about what's happening with, you know, celebrating Black Lives Matter, and they're trying to make it seem as if they're a hate group, and it's amazing because if anything's a hate group, it's everyone that's connected to this Confederacy situation, right? Um, I was talking to a friend of mine in North Carolina who is an educator at the University of North Carolina. Well, one of the universities in North Carolina. And in the conversation, she mentioned that, she's involved with this book project, and the premise for one of the people is that, the person she's writing the book with, because it's a collaboration, is a white person who's actually going to expose how his family taught him racism. I was really intrigued by that thought, the notion that someone will take some time out of their schedule. They're over 70 years old, which I understand that too, because actually in my Write Your Story course, I had a young lady, she's 72 years old, and she is writing a book about her family owning slaves in Southern Maryland. But the way she wrote the book is she's writing the book so it can go on a shelf. She's not going to tell anybody what it is, except for it's going to be mentioned in her will. And in her will, she wants people to be exposed, and the book will be exposed upon her death, because she wanted people to know. And I was like, well, why you want to wait till you die? She said, because it's just too much for my family to deal with, right? So, there's a lot going on in our nation right now. And I don't want to get, lost in that because of my purpose. But at the same time, I can't be silent. I can't sit back and watch. But when she said that he's talking about how his family taught him racism, it's perfect for a conversation today, because I believe that we're going to get other families, and I would love to see a panel of white families, Black families too, but mainly white families, that share the nitty gritty of how their parents, their grandparents, their uncles, their aunts consistently taught them how to relate to African American people they called less than, to continue to stay in their privileged location. Now, of course, this impacts us because we have interracial marriages, we have interracial relations. But it's interesting what this person is saying he was taught in reference to racism, because we're talking to, even at my job, we're talking about how can we impact and reduce this institutionalized situation, right? What can we do about racism that will actually uh, either at least have the conversation and make a safe place for the conversation. And I told them at work last week when we did our meeting on Friday, I said this was the heaviest week. The week before that was the heaviest week I've ever had in my life as an African American male in America. And I've had my run-ins more than once uh, as a citizen by the police brutality. So anyway, I just want to make sure that you guys are aware. There are so many things that we could talk about, but as I told you before, I want to talk about passion, right? I want to talk about what gets you up in the morning, gets you up in the middle of the night, that wakes you up and you go at it. You go at it as if your soul depended on it, right? What is that thing that you're trying to solve? What kind of solution are you bringing to the community? If you understood, a couple of weeks ago, I was on the panel with Break, right? That was with HRAP, Human Resource Achievement Program. Hey, I want to send a shout out to Ernesto Rodriguez as he's impacting the lives of young people in the DMV, mainly the DC area, Southeast. Shout out to you guys because that's where we saw the epicenter of need. And when we go and we talk to a 14-year-old, I was doing prison ministry, and when I talk to a 14-year-old murderer, I have to understand what environment did that person get raised in. So that's one of the reasons why I have my guest today, because I am involved right now of taking my Righteous Story course. I do self-publishing, and I've been teaching that course at the community college since 2016. But what I decided to do after COVID came and they started canceling all these contracts, I said, well, maybe I should just bring it online permanently and make it available to more people. And so I reached out to CYOC, which is, create your own course. Shout out to Sonia. And while I was in the course, we have a cohort. And the conversation came around for me to talk to these two dynamic individuals. I put dynamic duo in the description. But we talked, and it was just an instant connection about what they're doing and the fact that they were so open. And I invited them to the show to share their dream, their vision of what they're doing right now in the community. And that's none other than Art and Shelly Jones Holt, Dr. Shelly Jones Holt, excuse me, in reference to breaking. All right, you know about break, right? I told you to follow it. Breaking, and we're going to break the school to prison pipeline. So that's going to happen in a moment. I'm going to bring them into the stream. Hey, you guys! They doing big things right now. They on the boat right now. They chilling right now. They kicking it right now. They out there, doing on the lake down. I think it's in Michigan somewhere. But Art, man, how you doing, Art? How you doing, Shelly? What's going on? Talk to the people. Let them know what y'all about. If y'all can hear me okay, etc., etc., etc.
Blessed and highly favored, brother. Let me tell you, man, it's like this is nothing but God, man. Put us in a position to where, we could, be in a position to where we could talk to folks about, our experiences, where we came from, how we got started, and just plow through, man. And wanted to make sure that the steps that we're making are the same steps that our kids will be making, you know. So God is good.
Wow.
So you asked for
And the other half there.
I'm here, and you guys know me. I'm the one that he is definitely the people person. I'm the pure and unadulterated business all day long, which drives everybody nuts. But it's what I do.
Work.
Our company is called Family Legacy 5. And we are focused on eliminating the school to prison pipeline and all of the factors that contribute to it. But the only way to eliminate one pipeline is by replacing it with something else. We can get very upset about the fact that it exists And there's a lot that we do in teaching schools and communities about the school to prison pipeline, what caused it, and what communities can do to help solve it. And that's one of the businesses that we have with myself as a former superintendent, and my husband is a current community liaison in the amazing Ypsilanti Community Schools District. And so we are very familiar with this pipeline to prison. So on the one side, we're working within the school system to deconstruct some of the systems that have created this unfortunate prison pipeline. And I mean, just think about it. The fact that we're saying the school to prison pipeline in and of itself sounds crazy. You don't hear about the hospital to the graveyard pipeline. We don't hear about anything else about the negatives of someone's job. We don't hear about the construction worker to quote unquote accident pipeline. We don't hear about that. But yet in our profession, we have coined a phrase to our failure. That speaks volumes to where we are in schools today. And so we are creating pipelines to career and life success. Our goal is to teach parents, and this is one of the challenges of being on the water, is you get the boats driving by, but it's a
It's
wonderful.
not. Don't even worry about it. They're listening to the words.
You
It's
can
the
do this.
words that they need to listen to. It's okay. Don't worry about
Uh, doing is we are teaching parents and their young adults starting at the age of middle school, but we also have elementary age students that are in the program as well with their family. But we are teaching families how to build a family legacy of generational wealth by creating a legacy of property, entrepreneurship, and home ownership. And so we focus on our goal is purchasing and monetizing property and helping families build that way. But you can also help your child start e-business. We have a 10-year-old that started here her quarter cakes.
Yeah.
So she
Little
sells
bakery
peach
business,
cobblers at the clubs around here. So she's very excited about that. We have a young man who is our son who we love dearly. He started a hot link business out here because they don't have hot links in Michigan. Go figure. That's a whole other thing, whole other conversation.
They call it something different, but
Yeah, but they don't have hot links like hot links, a
right.
sausage.
So we're gonna bring it to the
We're
table.
bringing it to the find a need, fill it, and so we're working alongside of you and building a course that is relevant to help parents and children get the skills necessary to provide support to build the legacy of generational wealth. We can do this. That is our way of a part of the movement. We're all in this.
Yeah, when you just mentioned it, it was just enough. You didn't tell me even half of what you just said, but it was just enough because uh, years ago, one of my segments on the Chop Chop, which was at DC, I was in DC at Listen Vision Live for 3 years on social justice radio, and we talked about this very thing, reducing this actual pipeline. So, what inspired you to actually create Legacy 5? There's a lot of people doing a lot of different things, but what was the inspiration for you and your husband?
So for us, it started out with what happened last year. Last year was a very hard year for us and our family. And our son was on his way to the university. And so we had all this going on. We had very, very challenging moments. And we also had this amazing moment where our son was going to the university. And so we as a family, part of what we do with Family Legacy 5 is we talk about balancing the 5 areas of leadership legacy, and we were very out of balance. I was working almost 24/7. I mean, in hindsight, I'm surprised we're even still married. Thank God we love each other, but I was gone most of the time at work. And when I kind of woke up, it was like, wait a minute, my kids are 2 years older. What the heck is going on? My kids are having difficulties, and I'm sitting up here with all these degrees in child education, psychology, and this doesn't make any sense. And so we had kind of a come to Jesus moment, if you will. And we decided that alongside the fact that our son got an academic scholarship, but it didn't include housing. And so God knows what he's doing. He doesn't play games. So we got he didn't have housing. So we started to thinking like, wait a minute. He could easily buy a house for what it costs for these folks to stay in the dorms. And it's the same money because we still got to come out of pocket. And at the end of it, he'll own something. So we did just that right there in Tuskegee. And he turned that home for me. and he's learning all of these entrepreneurial skills. And this year we planned it out, we took it to the next level, and now he's a property manager. He has multiple properties that he's managing, and we're managing properties as well. And this has now gotten us going with creating a family legacy. And any family could do this with your young people. Teach them the rules of money, home ownership, and entrepreneurship, and they'll always not only have a job, but they'll be able to create their own. Now we talk about we get jobs to fund our dreams. That's what you're supposed
You know, that's really important, the whole idea of what a job is for. But I want to back up a couple of things because, first of all, he's at a historical black college, right? So he's in Tuskegee area. And, here he is thinking, all I'm doing is going to school, mom. I'm going to school, dad. But then you guys saw this bigger vision for him. Did he see the vision with you, or did you have to communicate it back to him to help him see, hey, here's a different way you can look at this? Because a lot of kids today, they want $1 million job tomorrow,
to.
right?
Today.
Right.
I mean, yeah, today, and they don't want to, like, I gotta work. What? I mean, I want the job. I mean, give me the paycheck, but I got to do work too. This
Right?
doesn't make sense to me, right? So talk
So,
about.
so it's like Dwayne, he really didn't have a choice, like we've been pounding this knowledge into his head about entrepreneurship and learning about money and things since he was 12 years old. Dr. Kiyosaki, Dave Ramsey, things that were geared around how you can learn or understand a layman terms on how to build their dreams through financing and just learning about money. So he really didn't have a choice about that. That was something that we were going to continue to pound in because he was at a level to where he could understand it. Yeah, he's a kid. He didn't really want to do it, but at the same time, we knew he would understand it, and we weren't going to stop pushing. So I mean, it got to a point to where he got a full ride about is like parents just gearing up and having trust in their kids and just keep pushing them instead of them playing games all day and doing nonsense that's not going to get them nowhere. We're going to continue to push. We don't care if you don't like it. This is what we're going to do. And the results came positive, man. I mean, he's doing it.
And I think there was also a piece with the money. So what he does get was money. He's anti-racist capitalist. We with Family Legacy 5 because it's not just the business with the kids. There's a lot that goes into it. It's our relationship, being a husband and wife and running the company together, and not making sure that this work piece doesn't influence or interrupt our relationship with our children. We want to push, but we don't want to push so hard that we push them away. We have to make sure that we're working with our kids. So that's part of what we're teaching in the course. It's like learn from our mistakes, learn from what we've been through, and we can help you do the same thing with your family. We can take back our communities and our families. We can do this together. We don't need much, because we didn't know much when we started. We did not. We learned and read right alongside with our son. And that's the first thing we recommend to all families is you've got to read to lead. What are you reading together as a family? And while Kiyosaki has his issues, the information is powerful. Go get it at a library for free. Don't worry about putting money in his pocket if that's your issue. And understand what he's talking about. Understand what Dave Ramsey's talking about. Tony Robbins. Like, there are these folks that have really broken this down for us. There's a brother right now that's working with Dave Ramsey. His name is slipping my mind. But Damon John. I mean, there's so many folks out here that are trying to teach us how capitalism works. And we infuse that with our anti-racist mindset because we do believe that all people should be treated the same and that we need to have some injustices that we need to correct in our American society. But that does not mean that we do not need to take advantage of the systems that are right there.
Well, see, you guys touched on a number of things. One of the areas I want to go back to is you said read to lead. You know, there is a myth in our community that we're not readers, right? There's even a statement that they say if you want to hide something from a black man or woman, put it in a book, right? But we already know that's a myth. It's been debunked for years, but people still kind of walk around with that mindset. You talked about some of these people, like Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. You talked about, Anthony Robbins, the power within, unleashing the giant that's within, and all these kind of concepts. Take us through, or take our viewers through, how you would engage people to rethink the concepts, because a lot of us are concept out with church. Now, I'm not anti-Jesus or anything like that, but what I have found is that God's going to bless me. The Lord's going to bless me. I got to have faith. I'm walking by faith, not by sight. And they have all these structures that are not action, activity. Talk about that.
So we know, and my husband is probably going to speak to this a lot more than I already am, but we know that faith without works is dead. And so we have to, we have to do work to actually walk in our faith. It's not you just kind of pray and then just pray that something's just going to fall out the sky. It's pray that God gives you the wisdom and the spirit and the mate and the fortitude, and guide you to the right people and guide you to the right direction to make the moves that you need to make for you and your family. I'll leave it there and I'll talk to the spiritual head, right?
Right. So what I believe in strongly is you have to have the power of discernment. You got to recognize who the folks you are around, who you put yourself around in order to change your mindset. If you're going to walk around with folks that are constantly grumbling, constantly saying that, things aren't going to go right, or, maybe connected to drugs or alcohol to a certain extent where it, causes them to stay stuck. You got to branch out there. A lot of my friends say, man, you got a lot of white friends and stuff like that, man. It's because I know how to talk to people and I know how to get along with folks. And it's not only just to be friends or anything like that, but it's to, just touch bases on how business works and, what's the different, avenues that we could take. Having that conversation, asking those questions, and it just brings back to, what I learned, got my bachelor's in theology and just being just spiritually based and knowing that if you are talking to somebody, you know exactly how they're gonna feel, and you know exactly what the rhythm is. If If it's not a vibe that's positive or taking to where you need to go or what you need out of that conversation, then it's time to make a move on. So I truly believe that folks need to just have that discernment within them to kind of gauge them and navigate and get with the right folks to, properly mentor you into diving into, financial gain, generational wealth. You got to read the lead. You really do. And you got to get connected with the right folks.
And the fact that now there's so many audiobooks. I mean, we sit down and while we're making dinner, we can put on an audiobook and the kids can listen too. I mean, everything doesn't have to now don't get me wrong. We are from the hip hop generation. We know we love to have fun.
Correct.
There are times when we have to, and the TV needs to come off and we don't always have the time to put a book in front of ourselves. So we do a lot with audiobooks. We're on the road a lot, even when, we work in COVID and we're going back and forth to practices and such. Our kids know that when they get in the car, they're either going to hear an audiobook or they're going to watch like a science video or something like that, while we may have our audiobook in the front seat. So we have so much technology now where there really isn't an excuse as to why we're not enveloping and engulfing ourselves in knowledge around particularly money. Money is not just something that you're going to earn. You have to figure out what to do with it once you earn it. And part of our course, our 5 areas of leadership legacy, involves that. Our entire company is built around 5 areas. One is personal leadership, taking care of your health, your wellness. We talk a lot about our relationship with God, that this doesn't right, that this is not going to be right. Knowing yourself and who you are, and focusing very intentionally on your values, your morals, and your ethics. That's all part of personal leadership. That's the first area. The second area is relational leadership. So it's about you, but it's also about how you get involved along with the people in your family, your friends, or your community. Learn from our mistakes. We say that all the time. And learn to have healthy conflict in your family, within yourself, and with the larger community. The third area is your career and professional leadership. You got to know how to make money. Your primary means of making money is usually your job or your profession, whatever it is you've trained to know how to do. So mastery of soft skills and the hard skills to do your job and networking. The fourth area is financial leadership. We have to know how to, once you make your money, you got to know how to make your money work for you. So understanding and intentionally building generational wealth by investments and understanding the way that money works to elevate you to the next level. And I promise you, there is nothing next level about the latest Jordans or the latest Nikes or whatever, multi-million-dollar things that people put on their bodies or purchase. No, that's not the way you're going to build wealth. That's the way to show off that you have no money. So we want to make sure that folks understand exactly what that means. Most of our stuff comes from Walmart. We shop at the Salvation Army, Groupon.
We're frugal. We gotta be
very. But you see, we're sitting on a boat, so we'll buy a boat. Right. But with all those, all that money we save from not spending very extravagantly on other items. And the fifth area is about the first home leadership, which is our basis. You have to have shelter, safety, and security. Building a house and taking care of it as your home is part of what you're teaching in our course. And so we want folks to succeed, and we want to bring them along with us as we continue on this journey.
This is awesome. Again, so much that you guys share. I hope my sound is okay because it might be reverberating a little bit. But how can families support this vision? Because there's so many benefits to what you're saying. I mean, the idea of making sure that you get that skill, that soft skill development. I mean, I talk about that when at work I talk about leadership development, and one of the areas is emotional intelligence. And because people, they destroy their whole career through a conversation they might have by not understanding their emotional content of what they're saying. You talked about this value, this personal health and wealth, knowing yourself. I mean, these are really pillars of success for any person.
Anybody.
And personal development is so grand. So how can families support the vision that you guys have?
So first and foremost, we are really involved in engaging with people. So email us, holtlegacy@gmail.com. That comes directly to us. And we're really engaging people. Our motto is getting where you fit in. And so we like to talk to folks to figure out, okay, so what is it that you have going on? Right. And how can we help meet a need for you? How can you maybe help meet a need for us? That is the whole idea of Ujima and Ujama, from the Kwanzaa principles: collective work and responsibility, building a village around ourselves. So hit us up by email, coltlegacy@gmail.com. There, you got it. You can also reach us on our phone numbers. Our phone number is 909-544-6482 or 770-715-1046. So you can reach us. We got throw that into the chat.
Give us those phone numbers again. The seven.
So it was 909-544-6482 and 770-715-1046. So we invite your callers to give us a call or send us an email, and we will discuss how we can best help. It might be, through participating in the course. It might be through lending your expertise to what we're doing in various communities. It might be that you know a great construction worker in the Tuskegee area, which we're looking for now. We're looking for people that can help us refurbish homes in that area so that we can have more students attend HBCUs. So there are so many ways within this social justice fight to really get involved and create solutions that work. We are all about, we understand Black Lives Matter. We do not want our country to continue to be torn apart in this way, but we want to make sure that folks know how to elevate yourself through this turmoil. We can see a mess out of this, a message out of this mess, a testimony out of this test. We can do this together.
Yeah, you said testimony out of the test, and that's so important. My question now goes toward this whole idea of the prison, breaking that cycle, breaking the pipeline, or impacting it. Do you have a story of a young man or someone who, you know of that's currently in that situation, and how is Family Legacy 5 going to impact that individual?
So we mentioned that we both work in the school system, and so we see these stories literally every single day. We see communities where people do not know what to do, and they end up into periods of generational poverty because they don't have the knowledge to be able to pull themselves up. And so we can both speak to right now in one of our homes, we have folks that during this COVID pandemic were trying to get on their feet. And we started to have some of these conversations with young folks and around the 5 areas of leadership legacy. And they're in process of changing their lives and shifting themselves to being homeowners and entrepreneurs. Because it's a process and it's not something that we just leave people, to go astray. We've also, in this school to prison pipeline, and that's where a lot of our motivation comes from as well, is we do not want to see or attend one more funeral or see one more young person locked up for something silly that it could have been avoided if they were not in that place at that time. Now, again, I'm not saying that brutality does not exist, but we do have quite a few young people. We're being intentionally vague on their stories because we did not ask to use their stories, and I don't want to do anything to identify them. But we have several. The way our residential program works is they stay with us in one of our homes and going through this process of going through the course. And once they complete their graduation, so to speak, is a housewarming party, because we're going to make sure you get into a position to buy a home. And again, this story, if you're really looking at, there was a group of kids in my last position that would come to me, and they were vocational students, and they were saying, I was really wondering, why is it that I had these amazing kids, brilliant, that were amazing carpenters. I mean, they would build a house over the course of the year. They were nurses. They would work on my car. Amazing at mechanics and working with their hands, but they were also AP students. So many of them going off to college. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. I mean, I get it. Go get your degree. I got mine, but you're really good at this. Like, is this, and you enjoy it? What's going on? So we brought some of them together, and they were very frank with us. You're going to love this. Was a real epiphany for us. They said, Dr. Holt, after a couple meetings, they were like, Dr. Holt, look, let's just break it down. If people go to college, they get this great party. People give them a whole bunch of money when they graduate high school, and everybody celebrates that they're going off to whatever university. Uh, if kids go to the military, they get great parties and they get all these celebrations and they get great things that go for them. If we go into the vocational fields and we have to do a couple of years of community college or a technical school, we get the joy of living in our parents' basements for a few years. Everybody kind of looking down at their nose at us because we didn't go to college, and you want us to choose that over, even though in a couple of years I'll be making quite a bit of money. They don't all see that forethought. All they're looking at now is these kids are getting this over here and we're getting nothing. So how about we fill that void? And that's what we're doing is we're filling that void for mainly vocational students who are going to cosmetology school or to be HVAC engineers or plumbers or those kind of professions that we don't have a residential program for them. Everyone else gets to grow up outside of the home. If you go to the military or you get to kind of this transition time, unless you're going into vocational field. So a majority of our kids that want to go into the vocational field, you'll find many of them are the ones who end up in the prison pipeline after high school because they're in the same community, doing the same mess that they were doing in high school. They never get out. So part of our program is if you're like, let's say in the northern part of the states, we bring you to the south, to our Alabama location. If you're in the southern part of the state, we bring you to our northern location. So you're not enveloped in the same community and the same circumstances that may have led to you making poor choices. We're going to put you in an environment for success, and then we're going to make sure you succeed. That's the way we build up our community. That's the way that those of us who have made it, quote unquote, that we're still, hustling and pushing, still grinding, help and lend a hand back to those with the entire concept of Sankofa, which is looking back
Right.
to move forward.
Back to bring
Pull
forward.
those babies back and bring them on as we go.
Wow. You said a lot, and it's interesting because.
We always try to keep it and cut it down. It's like just
Oh no! I didn't say that for that.
It's all good information, man.
I'm saying you've covered so much ground. When you think about that idea that we don't celebrate the vocational student, and they have to grow their career from the same environment that they've been in, and we already understand that most of us, soon as we had an opportunity, we were out of that environment. We're like, listen, I got to get out of here. Mine was the military. I remember a friend of mine who was destined to be great, but right after high school ended, hung out with the wrong folk, waiting to get ready to leave to go to college, and wind up dead on the streets.
Boys in the hood.
Right? And now the whole process, the whole plan was totally disrupted.
Right.
So people need to get involved and learn about your organization. Absolutely. And I know that we met because you're putting something together regarding that. Right. What other methods do you have in place that you could talk about in reference to how people can get involved and learn about this idea? Because I actually got excited talking to you because I was thinking of my own son. My son is actually a football player, also full ride scholarship at Bowie State. He was the NCAA CIAA #1 defensive player for the nation.
Go ahead, Daddy. Where's that proudly?
You see Jonathan Ross. Oh yeah, I gotta throw that out there. Jonathan Ross is #1 Division II football for at HBCU. They were actually undefeated last year, and they went to the state finals. They won that. They went to the local. They won that, and then they lost in the national. But anyway, I like the fact that you're in a HBCU area, and there's a lot of HBCUs that have depressed neighborhoods around them.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So can you talk about that strategy, if we look at that as a strategy, or is that something that you guys are thinking about? How do people get involved, learn? And then secondly, what are some of the strategies you want to put in play to make sure that the people who are learning are strategically located in some of these HBCU areas, if that makes sense?
So we are very intentional with going to the Tuskegee community because you are absolutely right. One of the one of the pieces around institutional racism has to do with looking at the communities around our campuses. And so a lot of our HBCUs were planted in the communities that need Black college or university, and because we were not allowed to go to other universities, but there isn't as much poured into those communities to build them up.
Right.
And so, if we as a community don't purchase the homes around and invest in our young people in that way, then it's inevitable that you're
I
going to
apologize. I got a
see
plane.
some of
It's
by the
actually a
way.
missing man formation going over us. Hold on. I'm right. I'm not too far from Andrews Air Force Base. We just had the missing man formation go by. It was
Oh wow!
aircraft missing one. So I apologize. All right, go ahead because they made the move. I
That's
apologize.
awesome. That's awesome, though. What a wonderful place to be. So, but yeah, a lot of the HBCU communities are very ripe and ready for a time like right now. So let's look at this again from remember we are anti-racist capitalists. So we believe in the anti-racism movement, but we also are starting to understand a lot around how money works. And so if we take a peek back to 2007, 2008, I know I was watching very closely. I had just come out of college a few years back. I was just starting as a level admin, and I'm going, huh? All right, wait a minute. What's going on here? Homes are being given away. The mortgage industry crashed. The stock market crashed. But then look at what happened right after. Everything started to boom. It was almost like there was a secret society that nobody told us about that knew this was going to happen,
Right.
and they kept the secret from us. And then
Yeah,
all of a sudden, bam! Everybody came out millionaires, and we sit back like, what
yeah. We're
happened?
like, what happened?
What just happened? And so then you even go into like thinking about like the last election and why everybody was so mad at China and what was going on with all of that. And they, China stole everybody's money. Like that's why everybody was mad at China. But it's like things are happening and we don't quite understand what the heck is going on. And so what we did with ourselves to do was to learn and to start listening to those very, very boring sounding news shows that our parents used to listen to and were like, why do they even listen to that? So then we're like, okay, now we see why they listen to that. It's very boring and it's not very interesting. The great thing is you have channels on YouTube or podcasts that can make it a little bit more interesting and just give you the lowdown and the scoop on what's going on. But what happened during these times is a prime example of being able to take advantage of an opportunity. We are in that right now. And
Right.
so as if our communities were to take a step back from, our anger, and I get it, I'm just as mad. I went to Berkeley. I'm power to the people. I did the protest and all that good stuff. Done it. Been there, done it, got the t-shirt. But now we're a bit older and wiser. And how can we put a system in place to help figure out how to take advantage of what's happening now and build a pipeline for other people to do the same? And it's very possible. And so that is how we could take this current situation and kind of shift it to our own good as
Yeah.
a community.
Yeah.
Another thing that you should practice is even though you're not from a certain community, you still have the ability to use this right here, your mouth, and ask a question. What I learned about some of the folks in the Tuskegee community is that a lot of the folks who had their homes and raised their kids, or their kids went to Tuskegee, um, a lot of those children, once they graduated, they left the properties behind. And it was amazing to hear that. And I was like, what do you mean by that? Folks really wanted to get out of that area. Once they graduated, even though, the folks had the property there, those kids, they turned around, got older, graduated, and they were out of Tuskegee. They didn't want to have anything else to do with it. So what we're running into is folks just losing interest in those Black communities, those communities,
Yeah.
those HBCU communities, and not turning that back around to where they could actually have some people, either renting the place or selling. I'm telling you, Dwayne, man, some of these homes are just engulfed with foliage. It's just, and
I
There's
seen them
no
in North
it's
Carolina.
sad. And
I
it was
seen them in
like,
South
why?
Carolina. Mhm.
why aren't some of these properties up for sale? So what you find out is that, they get to a certain point to where nobody's paying on anything, and then the city takes over or the state, and then it's in state probate, and they're, selling them for taxes, and then you find out you think you got to come up, you get a house, you got to put like $6,000, and you can't do nothing with it for the next 2 years. So there you have more time being wasted to where you could turn that place around and turn it into something that's profitable.
So one thing that way you asked how people could help. If anyone knows anyone that has a house in Tuskegee that they either have forgotten about, they have not been taken care of, they don't want anymore, give us a call. We can help connect. Either sometimes we take them on ourselves, but we can connect you with folks who will take that property off of your hands and put in the work to reestablish the community. And so anybody knows anyone that has any of those properties, because what the city also has to do is now chase down people, and maybe great grandma and grandpa died and left it to so and so, and then they have passed away, left it to so and so. And this is the story in Tuskegee. Folks are trying to go around and find the people who own the homes, and meanwhile it's bringing down the property value in the community, and the kids don't have a place where they can stay to go to college.
And that's
it
the
makes
main
no
need.
sense.
That's the main need. That is what we found out, is that this illustrious school, Tuskegee University, doesn't have enough rooms for students that want to come and have that experience.
And then you got properties all over the place.
And it's not the university's fault, but at the same time, they can only hold so many. But if there's still students there and you got a connection with the university in which we placed, it's like maybe we can get them other folks who are like-minded to come in and let's house these kids. Let's house them. Let's build this back up. And I think it starts from there, because at the same time, once these kids come in, that's when our core starts to drop. And that's when we start to turn them have housing. That was the need. That's what we seen. That was the pain that we seen. That drove us to where we were.
And first of all, I would be remiss if I didn't say happy early anniversary.
Thank you.
Anniversary, 11 years.
Yes.
August 8th coming up.
Yes,
you got to celebrate that day. You look over and like, I'm about to do this, and everybody's like, "You about to do this?" And he's like, "Yep, I'm doing it."
I'm doing it. You gotta do it, man.
Like, you got it, bro. Right? Y'all made that decision to unite, with two worlds came together, and now you have this legacy leadership program. This is very important, because one of the things you said in your I was reading one of your bio areas, you living on purpose. You guys are living on purpose, and you're creating generational wealth. Talk about how you came together and how that became how you're going to move forward. Because a lot of couples don't come together with their dreams. They come together with a lot of stuff, but that person does this and that person does that, and they don't seem to find a place where they can unite and actually move forward. Can you talk about that before we leave?
So you want to actually know how we met?
I mean, I'm not talking about that one, but that might be, we might have to be on the lake for that one right there. But I mean, the fact that you met in a mind, you had to come together with a mindset.
I mean, we're both positive people. We're both driven. Two different career paths. When I met her, I was, on my way out of politics. She was an educator, an administrator. But we just both had that professional insight on how to get things done. as we grew, we just really started to read a lot more together. She's in education. You know, she's the one that inspired me to go back to college to get my bachelor's degree, you know, and, you know, I was successful, you know, and it things, just the success within our lives, you know, just continue to happen because we stay positive with one another, we communicate with one another, and we rub each other's back and push each other forward, man. You know, you gotta have it. You gotta be flexible. You know, thank you. You gotta be flexible with one another. You gotta be able to bend without breaking. You know, so that has a lot to do with where me and Shelly are now. You know, it's like it's just really I just give it to God because it's just that magical to us. You know, it's like our combination on how we think. You know, if I'm thinking a certain way about something, you know, she's there with her background and all this education, the smarts and doctors and EDDs and all that stuff. Yeah,
let him go on you a little bit. Let him go.
You know, for every strong man, you have to have a strong woman behind you, you know, and it's like that's our testimony, you know. It's like she's done nothing but build me up to where we're at a point to where we're on the same page, we got the same drive, and we know what we want. We see the need, we see the pain in certain communities and just in life in general. You know, that's why we are in education. That's why we care so much about you know, the children in our communities, and you know, just want to build them. We want us to be a model that they see. You know, we going to work dressed to the nines. This could be you. You know, it's like if you have any questions for Dr. Holt or Mr. Holt, you know, let's sit down and let's have that talk, and I'll tell you how we got there. You know, and you just gotta have that positive attitude, and that's what brings us together because that's what we both share.
And
Awesome.
just to add on to that, what we did do very early in our relationship, we did seek godly counsel when we started to decide to get married. So we went through marriage counseling. We discussed, even though you know it's a more of a forward thinking, I would say, way to approach a marriage. And we discussed our goals, our dreams, and we set a very clear goal that we wanted to be able to provide all of our children with the knowledge, expertise, and will to purchase a home on their own with our support. And so that is our goal: is that each one of our children is able to purchase and move forward with a home. They have to do the work. They have to do the work. But we will provide them with all of the guidance that they need. We'll provide them with a path to be able to do that, because that is, you know, as we sit here on 4th of July, and it has so many different meanings for so many of us included. That is the American dream. You've got to own a part of land. You've got to own your business. You've got to own your time. And if you don't own those things for yourself, you're always going to feel enslaved. You are, because you're in a system that provides that does that. So there's ways that we can move forward with this. And we decided, hey, we got to figure out a way to make sure each kid has a house.
Right.
And we'll start there.
You got to look at it you got to look at it like this as well. This is something that took 10 years in the making. It's not something that's overnight. So you really, just like you said earlier, you got to continue to grind. You got to continue to educate yourself and get yourself around the right people, whether they're black, white. There's always information out there. There's nuggets out there for everybody to find and use them to your advantage. I mean, we've been through so many different ways to market, you know, Amway, you know, all those different ways. We may not have stayed in it, but we definitely got something out of it, you know, and you just got to put that work in, period. You know, we're not going to stop because we still got young ones. We still got to raise up this way. So, you know, we got one in the oven right now, and he's cooking.
All right. Hey, listen, you guys, tell us again how to connect with you. I already put it in the chat. I just want to make sure. You have a website?
We do. It's Leadership Legacy. I'm sorry, FamilyLegacy5.com. It should be up next week. So
Yeah.
FamilyLegacy5.com.
Is it the number 5 or FIV?
Number 5.
The number 5. FamilyLegacy5.com. If they want to read this right now, they can come. I can put it into the chat as well. HoltLegacy@gmail.com or LeadershipLegacyConsulting.com is my website right now that is live. if they wanted to reach us right now. But
Legacy5.com.
yep, familylegacy5.com, holtlegacy at gmail.com. Give us a call if you know anybody that has anything with the Tuskegee area, or if you're thinking about doing something like this in an area that you're in. Give us a call, because this is something that works with all areas of the city. We talk with the mayors, the city council. You got to get involved with local politics if you're going to do this work, and we help you do that.
Yep, get in touch with the mayor. I mean, we're in those small communities. There's somebody that's willing to sit down and talk with you.
And help
I
you.
mean, and we made sure that we was going to talk to the president or something. You know, whether it's housing, whether it's, student affairs, something. Get everybody involved, and man, that's all it is. It's like, because they see the need too, and they're looking for somebody on the outside that sees their same vision, because their hands are tied. It's like, but you got somebody coming in as that same vision, wants to drive that community forward where it should be, like all these other communities that have colleges out there that are thriving. Why can't we do it? Why can't we do it? All right, come on back. Let's see what we can do to get this thing cracking.
Oh my goodness. How many people have went to an HBCU? Let's go on ahead and get back.
Excellent. Hey, listen, last question I want to wrap up with is what's on, I know what's in the oven, but what's on the black burner? What's on the
Boy. So much.
So much. So we do have an upcoming course where we're looking at the homeownership and entrepreneurship course, which should be launching in mid-August. And so we're very excited about that. We're actually working with you on that, so we'll be able to teach you exactly what it is. That's the first thing. We are also making in the works with a book on the school to prison pipeline, just teaching people about that. And we're also in the works with a book on the family leadership legacy 5, so that we can really break down the concept of personal leadership, home leadership, financial leadership, professional leadership, and relational leadership, so that we know what to do. So there's a lot that we have on the horizon to be able to support folks. And the best thing for us to do is to be connected with the communities so that we can help other people do the same. Knowledge is nothing if you keep it to yourself.
All right, family, you guys have been listening to two dynamic individuals. I'm trying to tell you, like I said, their passion resonated in just a short conversation that we had. But you've been given a lot of golden nuggets, but what I call platinum nuggets, because these are the things that you can build something from. And when you're talking about legacy lives past use.
That's right.
I want you guys to think about, what are you building for your family? Don't get caught up in this thing about, oh, that's for white people. Because a lot of black people think, oh, reading books and, listening to those stations and listening to that stuff and all of that, listening to books on tape and all, that's for white people. That's for all people.
All people.
And here's what you need to do. If you see somebody successful, you want to follow the behaviors of the successful.
Exactly.
If you see somebody winning, you want to ask them what's the edge.
Yeah.
Here are two people, Art and Shelly, who are willing to give you the scoop on the edge. So I hope that you learned a lot during this time. Remember, we're talking about passion to profit. This is built out of the book, No More Crumbs from the Table. You don't have to settle for the crumbs. You don't have to settle for what's left over. You can take yourself and discover what's on the inside, right? Discover your tag, your talent, your ability, your gift. And once you discover your tag, you put it into earth, and you put it into work. And if you cultivate that thing, you let God and the universe do everything else. But you got to do the work. So I want to say thank you guys for listening. Thank you for coming along. Danae, Cecilia, Price, Wilson, other people that are listening. I can't tell that you're on because you didn't do anything in the chat. But I want to say thank you, Art. Thank you, Shelly. I'm looking forward to finding out more about what's going on. Definitely want to be part of the release when you bring your course out, your book out. I have the Write Your Story course. I might bring you guys back when your book gets published, so we can talk about that and you can share about that. But this has been a pleasure as well as a privilege. And as Les Brown would say, y'all take care here. It's
Hey,
been
you too, man.
too,
Thank you,
man.
Dwayne. Appreciate you, bro.
all right. So now I thought you was gonna go.
Oh, you want to do that?
Okay,